What's up, guys? So today we're doing more FTR mods. Before we get to what's on that table back there, we're going to do a quick little history on the Toce system for the FTR. So back in 2019, Toce had three systems out there. They were test systems. One went to the tuner, Ryan. He works for Lloyd's Garage now. Another went to Seth. He owns the FTR1200 Instagram page. And then this one. This one was actually on the Toce shop bike that now is single-sided swing arm and all that stuff. I was fortunate enough to get it shortly after they developed the system. With this system, 5 years later, there still isn't a full system for the FTR that develops the power that this does. So with proper tune, you're in the mid 120s for horsepower, and the big thing is you're a little over 100 foot-pounds of torque at the rear wheel. All the other systems, they kind of die out around 85 foot-pounds of torque, even with the tune. Toce so far is the only one after 5 years. They did redevelop this system earlier this year to fit bikes that had the OEM chin spoiler. Basically, the headers just move back a little bit and they kind of swoop under an inch a little bit more. Another benefit of this is you gain a lot of lean angle to the right side. The OEM header hangs down a little bit, especially on the 2019s. The 2022s and up, they kind of redesigned the header to make it a little bit better. But normally, if you just do a cat delete, you lose a little bit of mid-range torque. With this thing, there's mid-range torque for days. I'll throw a dyno sheet up on the screen here. And with the new system that they designed, so this old system only worked with their mufflers. The new system they designed a link pipe that you can run your factory Acro pipes, SNS, any slip one you want. It'll work with their new header system. So you still get the torque. I think you lose a little bit of horsepower because of the bigger muffler, but you still get the torque from the long primaries. So that way, if you want to keep your bike a little bit quieter, obviously this is an extremely loud system. You put the baffle and it's still pretty loud. But it just opens up more options for you. Me, personally, this isn't my main bike anymore, so I don't mind it being loud. Obviously, since I'm challenging now, this is more of a fun toy. So the fun toy is why we're moving over to what's in the convention. I did want to show you, so this system has 16,000 miles on it, and I've had it on for about 5 years. Ride in the wintertime, there's videos online of me riding in the wintertime with snow and the ice and everything. It cleans up perfectly. So all I've ever done was just hand polish this. I've never had this exhaust off other than when I was changing my clutch. As you can see, the quality is still perfect. I think they are re-offering the screen on, I know on some of the systems they didn't have the screen. I think this is an add-on. And then obviously they still have this billet mount. If you have a 22 plus, you're going to need that. But that's enough of the old system. Let's look what we have here. We got a high mount. So like I said, this is the new system they use. It's a wavy snap ring instead of the screw-in screen. Like I said, you think you still get the screen if you want. This does make it a little bit easier. If you want to put the baffle in, you can just pop this out versus the screen where you had to screw and unscrew it out. But just look at that fabricated muffler. And then over here on the front flange, you obviously have a CNC billet flange. It's welded, and everything is nicely welded and polished. So obviously, like I said, that system has been on mine for 5 years and lots of miles and still looks brand new. So yes, these are expensive, but they are hand built. All of them hand built with US steel and aluminum. Everything on this thing is all CNC billet and metal heat shields. So you really can't go wrong with the quality. Obviously there are cheaper systems out there, but they don't make the same power and they don't hold up over time. The finish looks like absolute crap after a year or two. So I'm not gonna bore you with removing this system. I will throw a link in the description of when I installed this system. So we're gonna get this off and then we'll start installing that. About 10 minutes later, we have it off. Once again, still in pristine condition. All the nice little billet touches. One thing I did forget to mention, SNS also makes a high mount. The problem with the SNS high mount, well, there's actually 3 problems with the SNS high mount. So problem number 1, you have to remove this because the SNS
It's the full header, and to get to that back there, you have to remove your tank and everything off to install that. Problem number 2, the way it's routed, it sticks out a good bit from the bike. So if you're a shorter guy or lady, your leg sticks out, sits on the edge of your foot peg here, and when you want to brake, you kind of have to tilt your foot in that way. And also when you're coming to a stop, because your leg's pushed out, if you're shorter, it's a little bit more difficult. And the third and final problem, you lose power on SNES. It is a true dual system. These bikes don't like true dual systems. I think you lose like 5 foot-pounds of torque or something like that in the mid-range. I'm not sure. Lloyd's had them on the dyno back in the day when they first came out. They do fit the 22 bikes, 22 up bikes, because it does replace this. On 22 up bikes, this is angled a little bit differently, mainly so you can get that bolt out right there for when you're changing your clutch, because it's a huge pain in the ass getting that bolt out to pull this cover off on the 2019. So on the 2022 and ups, they fixed it. There's a gasket up here. It's reusable, you don't have to worry about it. I've had this on and off a couple times when I was changing my clutch. That's reusable, I'm not going to worry about that. And obviously you have your O2 sensor right here. So we're going to start with the front pipe and then work our way back. So the front pipe, it does work with your sliders. Pop it up in there. And then there's 2 13mm nuts that hold it in place. So I'm going to leave those a little loose up there. One thing I will say, WD-40 makes installing these so much easier. Take the old clamp off, put the new one on. I'm just going to put some WD-40 on the seam. Slide her on. So I'm going to leave everything loose until I get it all assembled. Alright, so the muffler mounts back here. So you remove your OEM bracket, grab handle, and it uses these 2 accessory holes that are already in your subframe. And it screws on just like this. Obviously with the bracket pointing back. And then on your collector, spring mounts go on the inside. I already put some WD-40 in there. Get it nice and tight. I'm going to put some WD-40 on here. Then what we're going to do is, coming from the back, I'm going to put a little Loctite on these bolts too. Come from the back here and install the muffler. And since everything's a little loose, I can finagle it how I need to go. Get And with that on, what I'm gonna go do is go ahead and put my springs on here, then the clamp, and then I'm gonna put the front on. And that, ladies and gentlemen, it's done. There's really nothing too special about installing it. The springs, the easiest thing to do is get a pair of vice grips, lock them in, hook the first spring, and then just pull back and pop it on the back. They do make special little hook pliers for these, but you can just use channel locks or vice grips, not a big deal. Basically what I did was, like I said, I left everything loose and moved it till there was always clearance everywhere I needed it. There's clearance down here for my shock. You can still adjust your suspension settings right through here. I think what I might do is I might get a little bit of gold foil tape and put it around this. It is kind of close, but it's not too bad. But yeah, clearance is good everywhere. Still see my turn signal, still see my plate. For your O2 sensor, said my other install videos, spin it counterclockwise a couple times, and then pop it in the hole, and then spin it back. That way you don't have load on your harness twisted. So if you just let it dangle and screw it in, your harness is always twisted with a little bit of load. But fitment is absolutely perfect, so it does sit as close as you can. Obviously it is a high mount, so you are going to sacrifice some room out here, but not nearly as much as in the SNS. So let's get a first start out of the way. I haven't ridden this bike in a couple weeks, so it's the first time it's going to be started, so it's super cold, and the first time I'll hear the system. It should sound about the same. Cold start number 1. Prime the pump. Oh yeah. So that was just some of the packing popping out of there, some of the loose stuff. Then obviously all the smoke. Here's all the WD-40 we put in there. So go ahead and sit on it. So it does sound a little bit more rowdy. It might be due to the muffler design is a little different. But we'll come down here. As you can see, the brake pedal is still out a little bit. So my foot is not pointed in as much as it is with the other systems. Obviously I have a little bit of clearance there with my leg. I don't have to be right on the heat shield. Heat shields are a little toasty, obviously, but it is to be expected for the rowdiness of the high mount. And obviously we don't have any clearance issues. Even though that does improve clearance, I was able to scrape it a couple times. Look under there. Not too bad, but it can happen when you're getting super low. So that solves that issue. I do want to install the chin fairing that comes on the new bikes, but unfortunately it is on back order and I can't do that. So that'll kind of clean up the bottom a little bit. That pretty much wraps it up. Ran it through a couple heat cycles. There's absolutely no leaks up here. This is fitting down here or up there. One other thing to note, I talked to Ryan over at Lloyd's Garage, who does the tunes and the ECU flashes for these. The flash is slightly different between this one and a low mount. I think it might have to do because these primaries are a little bit longer than that. He said you're good to run either way because I plan on. I'm not selling that one, so don't even ask. So that one's gonna get hung up there in my ceiling. But if I ever want to swap back and forth, I don't really want to keep changing ECUs back and forth. So I'm just gonna run it with the low mount tune, see how I like it. Obviously, if it doesn't run that well, I will send ECU in. But Ryan said it's good to go. It's really not that big of a difference. But I'm super happy with it. I will put a link in the description for the removal of your stock system from my old video when I installed that. I'll put a link in the description for a couple sound clips from that one, and then obviously the link to buy this with my discount code. You can get 5% off the system. These are made to order. They do not keep these in, and they take. I think I told them I wanted this about 2-3 months ago. Finally got it. So these are specially made. This muffler isn't used on any other system, obviously, in the way the bends and everything go. Those things they can pump out pretty quick because this how it works. But yeah, this is a special order. There are not that many out in the wild, so definitely going to be different. Since a couple of my buddies bought FTRs, they also had the low mount system, so there's probably 4 or 5 of those systems running around in my little neighborhood. No one has this. So thanks for watching, guys.